right now, first off, we've got to talk about FTR, you know, the former revival in WWE after what, 2 months, 6 weeks after joining AEW, 2 years in lockdown. They have turned heel officially. Up until now, they've been towing the line. They've been tweeners. They've always seemed a bit dastardly. I think Dax and Cash are two of those people who will find it very hard to not look dastardly. They always look like they're up to something.
Oh, yeah.
And it transpired last night that all this whole tag team appreciation stuff that was part of their contract when they signed, that it would be a themed episode of Dynamite to celebrate tag team wrestling, was all a ruse to turn heel. It happened in a really good segment. I really like the idea of it. I've got to admit, though, I'm confused as to why it would have gone that way.
In what?
Do you know what I mean?
Do you mean?
Well, should we unpack what happened first?
Yeah.
So it's Tag Team Appreciation Night. A lot of tag matches on the show. There's vignettes as well with like different tag teams, best friends, Butcher and the Blade, Omega and Page, and the best one, picking like their favorite tag teams of all time, who they think the best tag team is. And then we get like the main segment of Tag Team Appreciation Night. It's the Young Bucks and FTR in the ring. You know, they're baby faces. They teamed last week together with Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters back in the day, and the Rock and Roll Express, which is just such a fantastic parallel to the modern day rivalry we've got going on here.
Which they totally played off in the segment, because Ricky Morton cuts this amazing promo being like, you know, I watch AEW every week. You guys, talking to the Young Bucks, you're like, you are the best tag team on the planet. You're the young version of us. You're the future of tag team wrestling. And then Arn Anderson cuts in to be like, I'm not one to blow smoke because I don't like the taste.
Mm-hmm.
FTR is the greatest tag team on the planet because they get, it was really, really smart stuff.
What was so good is that everybody put everybody over. You can't hear the fan that's just come on, can you?
Well, I heard some beeping, but it's
beeping,
I think
is fine.
That's you can get away with that
now.
Yeah.
The background's going to flicker a little bit, but everyone put each other over. You had the Bucks saying what legends we're with in the ring here. Same with FTR. The Rock and Roll Express didn't say, or Ricky Morton didn't say, hey, the Bucks are great, FTR are rubbish. It was like, FTR, you're just incredible, one of the best tag teams in the world. But I've got to say, the Bucks are the best in the world. Arn Anderson said the same. He was like, you revolutionized tag team wrestling, Young Bucks. But FTR are the best. You know,
yeah.
And Morton, Arn Anderson, fantastic promos. And it's what's so good here is it's not just personal beef, although it very much is, you know, superficially it's personal beef between the two teams, who's best. But really, why this is such a meaty, substance-filled feud is because it's about the clash of different philosophies. These are two wrestling styles that are going in conflict with one another to decide what's best. Is it the sort of ground and pound 80s psychological style of wrestling that FTR, Arn Anderson, and Tully represent? Or is it the highest of high spots? Boom, boom, boom. They can't work. They're just a t-shirt company style of Bucks and the Rock and Roll Express. I loved it.
Yeah, and it was also, it massively put over the tag titles as well, I felt anyway, because Tully Blanchard cuts this promo being like, look, we can sit here and, you know, talk about how great these teams are, but Tom Brady is the greatest football back of all time because he's got the most rings. None of you have got the tag belts. So Omega and Page are the best tag team. So all of a sudden, like, we're putting over FTR, we're putting over the Young Bucks as the best tag teams on the planet, but also our tag champs are the best tag team on the planet. And I mean, Meltzer talked about this a couple of weeks ago, being like, you know, his sort of speculation was that we're going to build to a triple threat at some point. And I thought to myself, no, Dave, you old fool. Clearly the match at All Out is FTR versus the Young Bucks. But after this segment, I'm like, maybe Dave was right. It is going to be a triple threat tag match, and I'm the old idiot.
There's so many dynamics at play there as well, because it's not just FTR, Bucks, Omega, and Page. It's like, Omega and Page's allegiances. Omega is obviously part of the elite with the Bucks. That's conflict because you're working against each other, but also you might work with each other against FTR. Same with Page. He doesn't like the Elite. He much prefers the company of FTR, which is what came next, really. This was further developed here because Page and FTR have been very buddy-buddy for the last 6 weeks, and it's been Omega who's shown the conflict there. Like, Omega's like, I don't want your beer. And then he tries to make up with them, but they pour beer over his head. And while Tully cuts this excellent promo, like everyone was good, but Tully was another level. I wish he was around more. Sean Spears comes out, and Arn's like, okay, I see what's happening. You're going to jump me. It's an ambush, which is nice to show people can see things coming sometimes. You'll never see it coming. And when all this is kicking off, everyone's focused on Tully. So Dax falls over, selling that knee injury from last week. He's got the knee brace on because he got knocked down in the scuffle.
They had him taken out of the match last week.
But then
which led to them being beaten by the Dark Order. Yeah, sorry.
But then he takes the knee brace off, implying he faked it last week, which Paige can't be happy about.
Well, Paige wasn't happy when. Sorry, sorry, I got too excited.
It's too good. It's too good. I want to talk about all the things immediately. He takes off the knee brace and he attacks the Rock and Roll Express, and they take Ricky Morton and they give him a spike pile driver off the second rope.
And what a sell job from Morton as well. Proper, like, pushes himself over to like land on his back. Old Gibson is out there being like selling the knee brace shot to the back of their head, proper like falling through the ropes and stuff. It looked like a wicked beatdown. And because they spent this whole segment talking about how these two are legends, it really, really made the attack feel very, very vicious to them. And they bailed. The Young Bucks run to the ring to kind of ask what you're doing. But the key to this is Page and Omega also coming out. And Page, with his whiskey in his hand, looking at FTR being like, why'd you do that? Like, he seemed genuinely mad. Not because they beat up legends, but it is because they beat up legends, but also it's because I kind of trusted you. Like, we've been forming this sort of bond and friendship, and this is what you've done. But is it also maybe you're right? Like, you did this thing, and like, because we've been talking about who's going to be the one to turn out of Omega and Page. It's feeling more like it's Omega at the moment, but there's still the possibility that it's Page now that FTR have also turned. It's really, really interesting stuff.
All the heel turns. Everyone turns heel. So I guess when I say, why did this happen? As we're talking about it, I'm sort of thinking, I'm going back on myself now, because I think, okay, why did FTR do this? Why did FTR do this now? Was a heel turn actually something that works? Couldn't they just carry on this program and respectfully feud with each other, and then the heel turn comes later down the line? Because in AEW terms, I think the heel turns quite soon, actually. It feels like they've only just debuted and showed up in the promotion. So I guess like this, if FTR were to give a reason, which I imagine they'll do next week in the build up to All Out, they'll say it's because they hate the Young Bucks style of wrestling, and they'll make it more about this clash of philosophies. Because without that's why they attacked the Rock and Roll Express, who are symbolic of that style. If they don't do that, it's just a bit like, oh, you just turned heel for heel's sake. Yeah. Which is what I was kind of left with. But now we're talking about it. Yeah. I can see the deeper stuff at play.
I was going to say, I think because like they kind of represent the Young Bucks in a way, like that's the sort of reason to attack them and sort of officially turn heel. Is certainly one read I think you could make of it. Last couple of things I wanted to add on the segment before we did move on. Ricky Bobby says that he was a quarterback, not a football back. I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. And my wife actually came into the room during this segment. Doesn't happen very often. She's usually up like after I've finished watching the wrestling, but she walked in and she pointed to Robert Gibson on the screen and she goes, "Why is Bill Bailey on your wrestling show?"